Oh, and we're live to discuss Mark II of Battlestar Galactica. So,
Dun, dun, dun.
dun, dun, dun. So, hey, this was the first version that Haley was seeing of Battlestar. So she saw Mark II before Mark I. And people are probably thinking, Mark 1, Mark 2, have we heard this before? I came up with that. I originated that. It's like other people have probably done it because it's not that an original thought to distinguish the two series. But so Haley, what did you think of it?
I really liked it. That's not to say that I didn't like the first one we watched after the fact. And like I told you, I think I like Mark II. I'm going to use your lingo here.
Yeah.
A little bit more just because of the romantic bits in it. I think it was a little bit more focused on like the relationships, and I did like that.
Yeah.
I know, here I am talking about relationships, right? And people are like, this is Battlestar Galactica, who gives a fuck? So,
Oh, that's a big thing. That's a big thing. It's like, I remember people saying at the time that it's set in space, but this is the best drama on television. So that's one of the things people were saying. That, and part of the reason why is the focus of the series was so tight because you're in a situation where you've not got any aliens, where it is just the humans versus the Cylons. And they said right up front, and plus you actually find out in the TV movie right at the end where that piece of paper comes from, where it says there are only 12 models of Cylons. And so what that then, so you've not got that much room for maneuver. You've got the humans, you've got the Cylons, you've not got any aliens that can come in or anything else. So you got to be concentrating on that. Whereas you look at something like Star Trek, you've got all these different aliens and things that can come in and you can change time and all this sort of stuff. Or the same with Doctor Who. You got this narrower focus.
Now, in Mark 1, what about when they went to that other planet and there were those other kind of... And there were more than one.
Yeah,
so
in
they
Mark
didn't
1...
do that for Mark 2? They just kept it humans and, and that's it?
What has been said, I don't know how true this is, but what has been said, the oral legend is that... so, I don't know... This is what I believe to be true. And that people have said that it was in Edward James Olmos's contract after he did the miniseries that if this goes to series, that he really liked the premise of humans versus Cylons. And apparently it was in his contract, I'll do the series if we stick to this. If you start bringing in aliens and stuff and turn it into Star Trek, I'm going to leave. That's
Got it. Okay.
Now, I can believe that. Can you believe that? I think that's a believable thing.
Yeah. Wanting to focus just on one thing, yeah.
And he's such a big actor. I mean, like, he was like a big name to get. He got Oscar nominated for a role called, I can't quite, when it was about 1987, where he played a Hispanic teacher. So really good. And you could see from, like, you know, did you get the idea, like, whoa, this is like proper acting gravitas? This is like the real deal. Like, and when he gives the speeches.
Yeah.
And then
I'm just teasing you, you know that.
No, I'm just listening to that music in the background and thinking there's a little kid having a party there.
There's lots of parties today. It's Sunday on the border, so party hardy. I'm surprised you can hear that. If you can hear that, you can hear the neighbor's dog just going bonkers. So I apologize.
Yeah, I've been hearing that before, yeah.
Yep. And I listened to that all night. But it's okay. I can block it out pretty easily.
I think Adama is an ESFJ it can be pretty tricky with the military, because there's going to be a tendency for people to think that they're guardians because they sort of like toe the party line. But there's things where he has like a big heart. Like you can see, like I think, like in terms of feeler versus thinker, I think is a feeler. Although, as we know, it's a spectrum, but I think he's like more on the feeling side. And I think he's a sensing type. I mean, ENFJ is possible for him. I think either ESFJ or ENFJ, because he did do that thing where he pulled out the rabbit's hat, where, you know, he did the where he comes up with the idea of searching for Earth, and he doesn't even know that it exists, but he does it as a thing to give them hope. So that's a little bit, that aspect's a little bit ENFJ-ish. But in terms of I think its dominant function is extroverted feeling. You could also see that maybe, and I'll get this from the commentary, that maybe he runs a little bit of a loose ship. That he's not exactly, because, you know, if you look at the kinds of people on this ship, and what he, like the way he lets Kara get away with stuff.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
And also the way he lets Ty get away with being a drunk. And it's like, and they did like talk about this. They didn't talk about it in terms of typology, but they talked about it in terms of why does he keep this drunk around on the ship? It's not just that he's known him 30 years, but we actually see with the case with the fire that happened indeed.
Right, yeah.
But
the
he
decision,
would
right.
make those tough decisions. And it also, it's the sort of thing that Star Trek wouldn't do. Star Trek would never make a tough decision. They would always like where a lesser of two evils thing, where it's like an ends justify the means decision, where it's like where you actively choose to sacrifice people for the good of the whole. Star Trek would never do that because they would say that's immoral. But it's like, no, we've got to sacrifice something else. The whole ship's going to blow up. And then you had good acting from the guy playing Tyrell saying he's a bastard. Look at that, my people are out there, and like Adama's there. I would have made the same decision. And so, and you could see like the pressure was on. Boom, focused. He made the right decision under pressure. So to me, Ty is like an extreme ESTP. He's like, and then you've got another take on Starbuck. I wish that have kept Starbuck as a little bit funny. Like, I love that kind of humor that you got, and we'll talk about that when we review the first episode. I love all the humor with the Starbuck in the first episode, and I wish they retained that.
Yeah.
Like, always wanted to try and get out the service, wanted to go with those alien women, and like, hey, we could get together and we could become big. I could become your agent, all that kind of stuff. And just the two timing women. That's just fun. Dirk Benedict perfect at that. But we'll talk. So I wish, because there's moments when because Katie Sackhoff is a good enough actress to do that kind of humor. She's like really good. I mean, to me, the best two in the series that I would give like 10 out of 10 acting quality to are Katie Sackhoff, who plays Starbuck, and the guy that plays Adama, Edward James Olmos. And then there's a lot of people just below that who are all very good. And I like the actress that plays, and I think the actress that plays the tall blonde woman, number 6. Now, she said she grew up on a farm, and she played that character when she was about 33, I believe. Now, what she objected to was Edward James Olmos calling her a kid. Now, I think that's I personally think she's an ESFJ in real life, based on, because I've seen her with Katie Sackhoff like team up in interviews, and it's like Katie Sackhoff is like so ESFP, like even like some problems with some drugs and stuff, maybe drugs or substance abuse, intoxicants. And I think Trisha Helfer, who plays number 6, the tall blonde, I believe that she is an ESFJ, based on the fact that you know, ESFJ adults don't like to be called kids because a big part of their self-respect is them being responsible and dependable. And like even when they're like 12 and 13, they see themselves as little adults, SJs, because it's the point of pride for them is being responsible and SJ-ish. So I thought that was interesting. It's just that Eddie Olmos, because he was like 20 years older than most of the other people on the cast, and he's like doing it for the money. Right then, so we're going to show. So we have one viewer at the moment. There you go, viewer. There's Haley. So then we're going to go to here. The aforementioned Katie Sackhoff. Wonderful bit of.
So do you think? Sorry to interrupt you. So do you think she had to whack all her hair off for this role?
Oh yeah. Do you know what they were actually saying? They were actually saying that they were saying she was too. The studio was saying she was too pretty to play.
I was just gonna say, yeah, have her grow her hair out and
yeah, because she is, and because in real life she's 5'6", she's pretty girly in ESFP in real life, and so she decided, like, you know, I can play this role. And there was part of one of the documentaries, they had like a boot camp. So folks, if you get the on the DVD set of either the miniseries or it's got like the boot camp that they went on. Right, so we're going to go through these. I didn't take grabs from the first. Yep.
She came in and they initially said, "You're too pretty, we don't want you," and she was like, "Yeah, I'll come back with my haircut and show you." Or did they suggest to her, like, "Hey, maybe if you cut your hair and, you know, muddy up a little bit, maybe it'll work"?
I don't know. Maybe she did it off her own bats. I don't know. Now, so one of the different stylistic choices compared to the first one is make everything a lot darker, but I like to show the goods. Right, what we got here? So I suppose this is the Rembrandt's lighting. Haley and I frequently talk about lighting where there's a little bit of light under the eye on the other side, but we prefer Caravaggio to Rembrandt lighting. Yeah, this was the bit with an explosive device that went into the. They had a sort of a. Oh yes, part of the plot was that a couple of the old fart hangovers from the knew that there was a certain area in a nebula where Cylons couldn't go, so they had like a sort of like a station in there filled up with a fuel and well, I suppose an arms depot, because they knew that the Cylons couldn't go in there for a long period of time because it played havoc with their electronics, I suppose they thought at the time. Right, okay, so as you can see,
but what I'm wondering is if these Cylons, yes, they will die, but they'll wake up somewhere else in the same body. Why don't they just, I mean, yeah, they will have to suffer, I'm assuming, but for the greater good, like if all Cylons are, like if they're banding together and they're wanting to take out our ammo base, why don't they just send a crew in? Yeah, they're going to die, but they're going to wake up right like where they were before. Well, so for the greater good of everyone, why don't they just send a crew in? Well,
and they could have sent the Centurions in as well. But they did, but you see, they did do that, didn't they? Because they had a Cylon agent there. They didn't know that he would get rumbled by Adama.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense. Why just send him there to do nothing? Like, send him there to destroy. I mean, I'm not trying to take the Cylon.
Well, the thing is, all those Cylons have their own agenda. And that guy in the station that Adama was beating up, that character is INFJ AF subtype. But he even has like scenes with Starbuck, who's like so ESTP, like she's ESTP AF subtype as well. and like where he's talking about rivers and streams of time, and Kara Thrace having a destiny. Can you get any more NI than that? And then Kara Thrace at one point says, Kara Thrace and a special destiny sounds like a bad tribute band. So,
okay, so this whole thing about they have their own agenda, I'm buying that.
You're fine with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
what's the name of the tall blonde? Number 6?
Number 6. And the one...
Go ahead.
The one that had an affair with Baltar on Caprica is later referred to as Caprica 6, and the one that appears in his head is referred to as Head 6. And apparently, not by the people in the program, but by the fans, they refer to as Head 6, the one that appears in Baltar's head. And in the final episode, you actually find out what that is, the one that's in his head. Okay. Right.
So how long do we have to go before the final episode?
I think there are 88 episodes in.
Great. So I'm probably never going to get through all of those. So why don't you just tell me now?
No. It's because
don't make me Google it, Ben.
No, it ties in. It's very important. And it's stuff that comes in from series 1 with. There's a religious aspect to the whole thing.
Yes. Okay.
Right. Oh yeah, this guy. He gets quite a bit bigger than this. Like he just puts on a lot of weight. This actor, and it's to such an extent that they refer to it on the commentary. It's just a little bit naughty, but he does put on a lot of weight. Oh, and you were saying you were crying out for seeing a tree, and then you got the aggro ship, and then I think they blew it up.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, and they wanted to like just
spaceships. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, that's okay.
Well, I mean the spaceships that they like the regular like Galactica. You would assume they have a few plants somewhere on the ship, like on a desk or something. I mean, that would at least be enough for me. But just something.
Maybe. I don't know if Adama does. I don't know.
Kind of this botanical cruiser anyway. Food supply? Middle of nowhere?
I don't know, really. But, apparently...
Garden?
Here we go. This was actually based, I believe, on an original ship that was in the original. And I actually think that the ship that was in the original was actually based on the film Silent Running in 1975. And that was actually part of the lawsuit between 20th Century Fox and Universal saying, you copied Star Wars. And it says, yeah, because we got the same designer. Mate, we got Ralph McQuarrie. You can't sue us because it looks like Star Wars. It looks like Ralph McQuarrie's work because we got him to work for us. You don't own him.
That's great.
And you don't own Dykstra, and who did the special effects for a big part of special effects in Star Wars was Dykstra. Right. I'm just assuming that that's how they sort of like argued it out.
Right. Yeah.
Right. What they did here is, you might thinking, oh, that's fancy because they had the camera and the camera kept going round. But really what it was is they did have a lot of time and they just decided, okay, just talk and we'll move the camera around. And sort of do it in 1 or 2 takes. Because you had all those people there talking. Otherwise, if you'd had to have used different angles, you've had to have like shot it multiple times and then edited it together.
Right, yeah.
This actor, I do not believe is as good as the original Apollo in Mark 1. And you'll see how good an actor the original one is when he comes in a few episodes' time. and plays Tom Zarek, the freedom fighter and or terrorist in Mark II. Wait a minute, we actually find out in the end that he's a Cylon, because the other ones turn up and it says, "Oh, about time, you've just come." Right, so we know that we know he's one of the models.
Yes.
And I think he's... Now, I wish they used the same numbers as Enneagram, but not quite. I think he's like a number 4 or number 5. So you can...
So what's the deal? Oh, never mind. Never mind. Continue.
Yeah, there's no...
I was going to say, she's a model 6, and she can't... Because he's like, oh, well, can't you tell who the other Cylon is? So if she's just in his head or a figment of his imagination, of course she can't. But, I mean, do you think later models...
she was intimating to him, hey, he might be a Cylon. Because she suggested to him, she suggested to Baltar that guy might be a Cylon.
So then she's not a figment of his imagination because she's feeding him correct information.
Yes,
I mean, unless
correct.
this is just...
And there's also a bit when Baltar moves away, when he moves down the corridor, she still stays there and reacts. Jim, there's a bit where Baltar moves away, and then she acts independently of him moving away.
So are you trying to tell me something?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Right.
No, you're just saying. Okay.
But, to me, they're my favourite. I mean, all the scenes with Baltar are pretty much my favourite because James Callis is very good, and it's nice to have him as a Facebook friend. Name dropper. Right. Although I've not actually had a proper conversation with him, so. What about there? President. She acted well under pressure. Just from a biological point of view, it pisses me off when they say race. Say species. Please, just say species. Or the survival of humanity. Don't.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
My allergy is... Yeah, this guy, INFJAF. INFJ is flip. And then the Dharma... Suspicion and distrust about walking behind him. A gun dealer philosopher, I take it. So yeah, there's some pretty good dialogue here. So this is where he's coming out. You can pretty much say he's saying NFJ-ish things. Maybe the Cylons are God's retribution for our many sins. What if God decided he made a mistake and he decided to give souls to another creature? He was saying something similar, but also that theme was in the original, where the original Adama talked about a corrupt society. But we'll talk about more about that when we get to it. Yeah, because the Cylons worship one God, like the Cylons, and the reason they've created these skin jobs is they believe that humanity was made in God's image, and if they look like androids and gynoids, then they are going to be androids and gynoids in God's image.
So hold on, wait. If they did the skin job because they think that that's what their God's image is, then if they look exactly like the humans, then where do they think the humans came from? If God made the humans too, they're okay with killing.
Yeah, it's slightly
something made of God they're worshipping.
Yeah, it's slightly confused. The Cylons argue between themselves. These issues come out. They play themselves out through these issues. Then here we go. It comes back. You know, God didn't create the Cylons, man did. And I'm pretty sure we didn't include a soul in the program. Must be your allergies. You can tell he's a good actor just from that. Just the looks. Call that thing you pretend to think of. Right, now we're getting exposition. Last-ditch effort to hide from the Cylon attack, right? Now we get, how many times we get told this particular plot point? We get told that by number 6 and then by this one. So plugged up your connection. Stuck in that one.
Okay, so like I said previously, if they did send a crew, that's the thing. They could get, oh, well, no, I mean, once they're in the storm, they're subjected to that radiation. So if that's the case and they will be stuck there because the storm's radiation is, you know, clouding them up, whatever, really it would be like, too bad, so sad, Sacrifice City, because you can't wake up in a new body because of the storm's radiation. You see what I'm saying?
Well, you mean they sort of sacrificed them?
Well, no. I'm saying how I was arguing earlier, like, why don't they send a crew of Cylons and just destroy the humans' like armory, and thinking that they just die and wake up somewhere else. But he's like, well, I don't know. I don't think you're going to be waking up anywhere and telling them where we are because the radiation is clouding all, like, you know, you're not going to wake up anywhere because there's too much radiation here. It's going to keep you here. So if that's the case and the Cylons sent a unit in to destroy them, thinking, oh, well, you'll just die and wake up. Well, they might not die and wake up because there's going to be a lot of radiation.
We see that particular model of
Keeping them
Cylon.
there.
That particular model of Cylon, I think he's a 2. The model 2
never mind.
is
right. Model more than one. Got it.
It's that particular Cylon is, like I said, INFJ AF. He's not the INTJ model that would think things through a little bit more. He is like completely about destiny, and his model is obsessed by Cara Thrace.
Got it.
Right, and these INFJs with their inferior extroverted sensing, like, you know, the danger, weird stuff. It's you know. Plus, he might, if he thinks they're coming, he might want to meet these humans. He loves playing mind games. That particular model loves to play mind games, and plus, he might really do things. It's a very, that Leoben, that is one of my favourite characters in the series. Right, and my most favourite character, Gaius Baltar, the INTP, I believe, creative subtype, like myself. Right. Yeah. Right, so this is the idea that they had a network attack, and so, you know, you better. And then you got this guy who looks up to him, this junior NT Gator. Now, originally, that someone decided it would be an idea to cut the edges off all the pieces of paper. But apparently that became a real pain in the arse later in the series because all the edges had to be cut off. So what started off as a nice little idea became a production headache when they had to produce books with like special binding where they cut the edges off. Oh, I think CIC stands for Command and Control, or Command Information Center or something. I have a little glossary in the DVD box set, in the Blu-ray box set. Yeah, the young Trisha Helfer, so like when they made the TV movie, and about 6 years later. Oh, here, this is a wig as well.
Really? I never would have guessed.
Yeah, because her usual hair color is a darker blonde. But yeah, it's...
Okay. So what, she didn't want to bleach it?
Yeah, I think so. I know it was a wig when they did a lot of the scenes, but when they did The Plan, which came out in 2009, which came out 6 years later, that was they actually filled in some gaps. Ooh, that's a tough one, isn't it? Guilt is something that small people feel when they run out of excuses for their behaviour. He does have so he's like perfect for this part because he can like give all these reactions and just about get away with it. It's like always just English.
Yep.
Look at his eyeline.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the bit where they see the device. And then they have a nice bit of introverted thinking where they go, oh no, how do you know it's a Cylon device? And they have to try and palm it off onto somebody else. So the Cylon device, and then he remembers that he had it with Caprica 6. And then he says, you said it was your electronic organizer. It's the Cylon. I don't know why I find that funny, but it's the way he said it. Yes, good TI. That must be in the number Cylon, someone who put it there. Ah. And then him talking to himself and like people coming up. Oh, I'm fine, thank you very much. Right. Now this was a little bit. This bit I would take issue with the writers. He says to him right there, "Oh, Cylons look like humans." This guy stood right there. I hope he can be trusted with that information because he's just overheard them say that. Because he said that to him right when he was stood there, didn't he?
Yeah.
So the works, and the writers on this really, and very unusual for a show, is they let the actors and actresses change the dialogue because they're for the want to almost to a point where they can almost paraphrase the dialogue as long as what is real. So it sort of makes me think now, because James Callis has started to write his own screenplays and actually got some movies coming out of his own that is written and directed, I'm starting to think that certain of the phrases that he comes out with are a little bit too English for the writers, and I think that they've allowed him to sort of like work his own James Callis-ness into things. The works. During the cremation that revealed mentions.
Shouldn't it be frighteningly? That's very frighteningly possible.
That's a very...
Oh, excuse me, I read it wrong. Yes,
that's okay.
Continue.
That's a ASTP to INTP. Oh, yeah, NCP. I'll certainly give it more. I like that line. I don't want to start a panic or people to begin accusing their neighbours of being Cylons because they don't brush their teeth in the morning. And they're able to. Oh, we got that. Right. What we got here? Oh, not that much left. Well, oh, what's this about? Oh, right. This is where he's left, and then she remains. Right. Well, we're going to talk about other Matthew and number 4 or 5. Maybe a 5. Not quite. There we go. And then we get this shot with the level of technology in 2003 was quite tricky because they had to have a blue screen, and then each individual thespian had to like walk. So it's like this one in this position had to do it once, and then when she did this one, she had to do it again, and then they had to merge them all together. So it became quite a process. So, for instance, separate takes for merging, say, like I said, this one, and then you got another red one there. Now, what they would do later in the series, like when they would have a group shot, it was like if they like shoot them from behind, they just have a load of doubles with like the number 6 hair, and you can tell they're all doubles because like the wigs were like slightly off, and it just looked like bad blonde wigs. Oh, and there's a bit in the plan where it says about that jacket, where the number 1 says, because you're recognizable with you and that jacket. It's jade. Or something, I can't remember. No, I didn't say jade. He said, it's teal. And then it didn't have much. So it was very hard to do the, oh, and we found Sharon's a Cylon. Oh, dear. Right, and then we got, there's your cast. Beside us. Blonde woman. Visual effect. Right, yeah, so that was shot on film. Oh, yeah, it was shot on film. Cameras and lenses. Colour time. And then it was, what else? So we're now back to... Go back to Haley. So, which characters do you like?
Well, my favorite is probably Adama. It's probably my favorite.
What do you like about him?
Followed by, I really like how sincere he seems and genuine. Kind of like no nonsense, but at the same time he has a heart, and I like that. I like number 6. I have like a love-hate relationship with her. Probably more love.
I'm interested in that. Why do you like that?
I think she seems kind of sarcastic in a funny way, and I just think it's funny. Yeah. Yeah, what about you? Favorites?
I'm interested in the bits that you don't like about her when you said a love-hate relationship with her.
Just the fact that things that she can't really help. The fact that she's a Cylon, and but I guess technically if we're existed and she has her own agenda, she could have chose like not to go along with the Cylons, of course, but it's a movie. So I like her for reasons that really don't apply because 1, it's a movie, and 2, well, it's just kind of, she doesn't have a choice. But as far as just her nature, I think she's really funny and sarcastic.
Yeah, I like. There's a bit where one of the lines I particularly like. Is he a Cylon? I don't know. I've never seen him at any of the Cylon parties. I should have taken grabs of those earlier scenes where Baltar says something like, "Oh, Cylons, you were Cylon. The last time we saw Cylons looked like walking toasters," and then she says something like, "Oh, we still have those models, but they're around. They have their uses." Those models are still around. They have their uses, and you will eventually see them. Although they won't look quite like they did in Mark 1. So, what do you think of Starbuck?
Yeah, I really like the character. To fly by the seat of her pants, kind of. But I think that's just the SP. But I like her. I like the sarcasm. But she seems very, free-spirited, and I like that. But a little too over the top at times. So.
Yep. Semi-dual, the SCP being the semi-dual of the INTJ. And INTJs have an aspirational extroverted center, which basically means that people who don't know that typology, it means that Haley is the type of person that aspires to be, I don't know, I shouldn't speak for yourself. What else? I like Starbuck because she's good. The actress playing her is good. I think she could have made her a little bit funnier like the original. And they almost take advantage of her acting ability by putting her in such like dramatic situations with like personal drama. And what else do we have? We have I think the acting across the board is good, except I don't think that Jamie Bamber is as good as Richard Hatch as Apollo. What I think with Jamie Bamber is he just can't. To me, I would call him a limited actor rather than a poor actor. It's just that he can't do those scenes where he has to show a lot of emotion. So, for instance, those scenes where he was arguing directly with his father about the younger brother Lee, no, not Lee, Zach, Diane. He shouldn't have been in that cockpit. I just thought that didn't quite ring true. I don't know how you felt about that.
I didn't. Well, I mean, I guess I'm not the best judge of like an emotion feely scene, but it didn't seem that. Like, I didn't necessarily find anything wrong with it. I almost read it like he's been keeping this bottled up inside for so long, and even just like for the first time arguing with his father, or maybe like one of the first times, he wants to get it out, but he's having a hard time, and he doesn't want to show like he's trying to keep his emotions suppressed. Like he's trying to do two things, like get it all out because he's pissed off at everything that's happening. But it's funny. Sorry.
Oh, my face. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to get it all out because he's pissed off, but at the same time, he's trying to used to keeping it bottled up. That's
I'll take a little bit back by saying that when I first watched it, I didn't think he was a bad actor. It's just me becoming such a
perfectionist. Okay.
Yeah. It's just me being a little bit. It's just that people like Katie Sackhoff and Edward James Olmos, the really good people, make other people look poor. And it's just like somebody just can't hit that note. It's like, but the rest of the time he's fine. It's just
what I like about it, the fact that he's not so showy with his emotions like every other person in the show is that I mean, look at real life. Look at someone like me in that situation. I would probably be worse than that. I mean, I think it's a good real life representation of just the differences in how people handle situations. So instead of saying, well, he's the worst or the good actor of the bunch, you know, maybe it's good not to have every single one of them going off the chain emotion.
Yeah. It's what he brought to the series was, and he made up for that, especially for the female and gay audience. He made up for it with his physique. Did Lee Adama. So you have that to look forward to.
Wait, what?
Right. I'm saying he made up for it with his physique. Any lack in acting ability that he had.
Did he like take his shirt off? I don't remember that.
Yeah. Because I remember once hearing that the Thingy used to watch it. The creator, the guy that brought back Doctor Who, he used to like to watch.
Okay.
He was his favourite character in Battlestar Galactica because he took his shirt off. Russell T Davis, he liked Jamie Bamber. Jamie Bamber was in seriously good shape. On
why did he take his shirt off? I don't even remember this.
You know, he didn't take it off in the miniseries. But he just takes it off a lot during the series.
Oh, okay.
Right, and they even have at one point. Here's a bit of a spoiler, and it's like the one episode that is just genuinely bad. Is I don't know what the writers were thinking of. It just they thought of having a boxing match between Starbuck and Apollo, and I'm like, make it a martial arts fight, and I can believe it. But when you make it a boxing match, and he is massive. By that point in that, she's
right.
like 5'6". I know he's quite short. He's 5'9", but he's like really big muscles. But the type of fighting that they did, where they're basically just like knocking the bells out of each other. I mean, if it was a case where she was just not really nimble and fast, and he couldn't hit her because like she was just too quick for him. If you had like a martial arts fight, I can believe it. But it's like this idea that they're working out their differences by having a boxing match, because it's like they've gone too far on the extreme of all men and women are equal. But it's like, but you got to think about it. Wait a minute, boxing match is done by weight category.
Right.
So if they really wanted to do that, make it martial arts, and make her more skillful than him, where she can use her power in her legs. That would be that I would. But that's the only episode that I thought was genuinely poor, and that happened in the middle of season 3. So I don't know what else to. So there's good. Oh, no, I asked you about Baltar. What do you think about Baltar?
Well, at first I wasn't too taken with the character. I mean, he's all right. I don't dislike him, but he's not my favorite. He just seems like, I mean, he's supposed to be this really smart genius guy, but sometimes he just doesn't. It seems like he just doesn't think. He doesn't think ahead. It's a movie. It's a show. So
do you think it's more of an NTP than an NTJ then?
I don't know enough NTPs to be able to tell you. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, ENTJs and INTJs are probably a bit more thinking ahead. But, you know, there's some great... like some of the things that were put in the series, like... when they think... Where the world's coming great, and they think he thinks he's going to get arrested for treason. And she says, what are you doing? I'm calling my lawyer. He'll know what to do.
He's the best in the business. Yep. That won't be necessary. In a few hours, there won't be anyone left to, that was... But, oh, ding, 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 that's right.
But for me, it's more the acting, the performance of the character. It's so... Because I know that just as someone who is English and has seen certain things, I know what he's doing, and the director knew what he was doing as well, because okay, I'll finish on this. The actor tells the story that Australians are closer to British people than Americans are to British people. There's much more. Like half of Australians have like British and Irish relatives, and so the Australian director knew. He said, James Callis tells this story that the Australian director of the miniseries came up to me and he said something like, and I'm going to try and do an Australian accent. There seems to be a bit of humour. And he said, you mean that's dangerous for the programme? Yeah. And so because what the Australian director thought is that James Callis was taking the piss. By the way, like, giving a sort of like, and to my mind, I think, James, genius, because you're not taking the piss, but you come close. Because it's within the character that he has created, as written and performed. He gets away with it. And one of the reasons he got away with it is that Edward James Olmos, who carried a lot of weight as the big guy playing Adama, he finds James Callis hilarious. And the story is that the director asked all the Americans in charge, and they thought they were perfectly happy with James Callis. But it's just that the Australian director knew there were certain things that he was doing. Because I know that there's certain things like you're not about to be destroyed by air and bombs, are you? How are you leaving? Where it's the style of delivery is like on a Carry On movie. And he didn't do it as strong as, like, when I did it like that, how are you living? He didn't do it as strong as that, but he just like did it like just a step back. So he perfectly judged. So to me, I'm watching this like, wow, he is like brilliantly like doing his own thing, but without taking liberties. So perfectly pitched comedy. So just from a comedy point of view, to be funny but without breaking the realism is fantastic. That's what so for that reason, I actually wrote a message to him on Facebook saying you'd be a fantastic. And actually, I put it on his face that you'd be a great Doctor Who. So I'm a bit of a fan of James Callis. I'm a massive fan. Right. And if people want to see more of him, he is in the Bridget Jones' Diaries movies. Right then. So then, I think we can. I think we should round it up.
I think we shall.
Right then. So bye bye, folks. I'll just put the camera back on there. I'll press stop. TTFN. Ta-ta for now, folks.